we may be saying goodbye to the open plan office. This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to the focus group. John Nash here in New York with my good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett, down in Philadelphia. Extended. That's what I'm going to say, Tim. Ish. You're ish. You're a couple circles removed. Hey, check out focusgroupradio.com. That's the website we use for the show, and we have everything there, including all our audio and video, including Unbuttoned, our Tuesday podcasts, which you can subscribe, and we hope you have been enjoying it. And thanks to all those who have, in fact, been downloading. And thanks for joining us today. Tim, you said the Facebook crowd is growing and growing, and there's a whole conversation that happens over there that we look at later, although I did want to ask everybody if they're watching on Facebook, or maybe we'll do it later, but you and I have a thought of doing a Tim's list, like a live little 15-minute thing sometime during the week, maybe in the early evening. But how would it actually work if you did Tim's list on Facebook?
I'm not sure. I guess we would monitor the feed and people would type in answers or type in guesses, and the first person who gets it in wins.
Or it could be where if we're in the setup like this, it could be back like when we're in Sirius. Remember, I would look at the screen and the calls would come in and I would just read things. So if I don't have to be looking at the camera or like totally engaged, because I'm really setting you up for you to go like, not on the list. Like,
that's
no,
probably not a bad idea. Yeah, I would say I was wondering if you could do it on Instagram, but I don't think that feeds as immediate as the conversation that would happen on Facebook Live.
I think it should just be Facebook
simple.
Live. Yeah, make it simple. And what do people win? Do you win like socks? You want to go back to giving socks away?
Well, we have about a box of purple socks left. We haven't done a new color. I don't know if you want any more socks.
We have a box of socks left.
Well, box is about probably 50 to 60. And unless you and I wear them for the rest of our lives, we probably should do a list and give them away.
All right. TV stuff quick. You and I both watched The Circus of Books. Tim watched it before me, and then he called me and said, hey, you got to watch it. You're going to love it. It's not what you're expecting. And your review was spot on. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
I enjoyed it too, and I guess I thought it was going to be a bit more raucous. And because the trailer that you showed, there was actually some very funny parts in it, but it was actually a very somewhat melancholy story. Yeah. Even down to some personal things that took place with the family. So I did enjoy it. It did keep my interest, and I'm glad I did watch it and catch it. Now I see a lot of other people are catching on because people are talking about it. But it was not what I thought it was going to be.
Have you heard of a show by any chance called Bosch?
Bosch? No, I haven't.
Yeah, Pat and Gary have been like hooked on it on Netflix, and I think it's a crime series or crime drama, detective kind of thing.
I haven't seen that one. There was a bunch that Mark and Carl suggested we watch, and of course I didn't write them down because we were doing it on just on a chat, and I probably should have had a pen and paper there and written them down. But there's a bunch of great, some British TV series they've been watching that they really enjoyed, and we've been catching up a lot on Schitt's Creek, which I really love as well. So it's been fun. I shaved my beard, John. I don't know if you noticed.
I did notice. Yeah. So did you go out and get clippers?
I did. So I had to go to the FedEx, which down here was an adventure. I had 4 different places until I finally found a place that would take the FedEx package and knew what to do with it. You would
over
think
the
I
lake
was
and through the woods, that kind of thing.
Yeah, as if I was in Sri Lanka or something. I said, I can't be the only person here that sends to FedEx, right? It's the nation's summer capital. I would think there's a lot of FedEx here.
I wonder if your go-to country for if we're in a different country, you use Sri Lanka a lot because that's kind of super far away. And for the $1 million prize, what's the actual name of Sri Lanka?
I have no idea.
Ceylon. Okay, we'll continue.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I think that's an old colonial name. So
I'll put it all in, Alex. I'm all in for the Daily Double.
So the place that you actually send stuff to from here is a Walgreens. So that's the big FedEx depot. And it's the same Walgreens that, remember the woman during the Kavanaugh hearings when she came forward and said that Brett Kavanaugh had sexually assaulted her or something during the Supreme Court hearing. It's the same Walgreens. That's where she made the call from in the parking lot. So I pulled in and I laughed because I've driven by it. I've never gone in. I'm like, oh, this is where the Kavanaugh thing started. Woman in the parking lot here. So anyway, I went in there.
Did you really park and actually think, oh my God, I'm in the parking lot where this all started?
Right during her when she was in front of the Senate Judicial Committee, they asked her when she made this decision. She said she was in Rehoboth on vacation, and she had driven to the Walgreens for something and sat in her car at the Walgreens and debated back and forth, and then made the call from the car at the Walgreens. And I thought, here I am trying to send out an ear pod. So anyway,
even better.
I don't know where that was going.
An ear pod for our listeners. A broken AirPod. An ear
broken
pod.
AirPod.
An earbud, an AirPod.
Earbud, whatever they're called. What is it called?
AirPod.
Is it an AirPod? So the beard was getting a little bit too. I went outside and I could feel it blowing in the wind, and I thought that's too long. Now, Richard wanted me to grow almost like a ZZ Top beard. I said that's just not going to happen. But so I bought these clippers.
What was his logic in that?
I don't know. He thought it would be kind of nice. Thought it would be funny. I said I'd look like a troll. It's bad enough now. So I got these little short clippers, and I think I did an okay job. I'm not sure.
It looks fine. It looks fine. It looks
we'll
fine.
See. We'll see what happens.
I think on one side, maybe go left and then right. Okay. And then go the other way. Okay. Same. You did a good job. Uniform all the way around.
I don't know what I did. Did or didn't do. How's Bob's hair? Is it growing in?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned it on Unbuttoned on Tuesday. Yeah, I cut his hair this weekend. Looks good. He's got a plan. And so since I did a crew cut, his plan is now that he's going to watch the length on top and keep the sides trimmed. So maybe there'll be some kind of midpoint where the hair will be more like a barber did it. Who knows?
I was thinking of just letting mine grow for a while. I don't have a choice. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know. A lot of people, though, I'll tell you what, if you're a hair salon or a nail salon or, pedicures, manicures, and when this event changes and things open up, they'll be open 24/7, I think. People are dying.
I thought about that. And I thought, you know what? A lot of people are going to wait on a line to have the pleasure of a haircut again. Or to have some kind of salon experience that they had before the event. Hey, Garrett indicated that I think we have Danny on the line from Connecticut. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Nice to hear you guys live. Thank you for doing what you do every week. It's always a pleasure to hear you guys and see you guys now on video. Since I'm working from home, it allows me to call in instead of just listening to you guys afterwards. On the haircut thing, I got to tell you, I haven't combed my hair probably in 3 weeks.
You haven't combed it?
It's getting pretty long. It's pretty horrible. I'm starting to look like one of those little dolls.
The troll doll, the little with the hair, the crazy hair.
As long as it's not green. Weren't the trolls had that green, electric green hair or yellow hair or something?
They had all color hair.
Yeah.
Any kind you have, yeah.
I trimmed the beard and everything a little here and there. The boyfriend likes it when it's a little bit longer, but other than that, I'm hanging in there. Thank you guys again for doing what you're doing. It's always a pleasure, okay?
Thanks Danny. Have a great one. Thank you. Hey, so the hair, someone asked me the other day, they said, well, I've cut my own hair for, God, I think it's been about 5 or 6 years now. Remember when I went down that road, I was paralyzed with fear. And then you said, Brian from AdMark 360.
Cuts his own hair.
Yeah, you said, John, here's what Brian says. Da, 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 da. Boom. I followed the instructions. It's been great ever since. And so this haircut issue has not been on my radar. Have you been doing any more reading at all? I've been trying, but we've been busy. You and I have been very busy, actually.
I actually have a book here in front of me that I'm reading. Not that far in it yet. It's Shackleton's Way. See if I can show it to you here. I'm not
Are you talking about the Explorer?
Yeah, I'm not good with the camera.
No, you had the blurry background thing on, so it's not going to show. But Shackleton, as in the Explorer, was it North Pole or Antarctica?
It was. It's North Pole, and it's about leadership lessons from. Well, it's Antarctic, so it would be the South. Okay. And
Oh, they put it on the screen for you.
Yeah, somebody recommended that I read it, and they said they felt it was the best book, even though so many people write business books and write books about leadership. There's a guy that I know from my college named Don Ritter that said this was by far, of any book he's read, the best book about leadership. And so I was really interested for it because I am
so fascinated by this. I haven't spoken to everyone listening. I haven't asked Tim this question in quite some time. We talk almost every day for business. This is fascinating. And so far you like it?
So far it's so far, and I'm not that far in. It was funny you mentioned it because I have it here and I just started it, and you know how I start things and I fall asleep. But but I didn't fall asleep because I think I started it too late at night. But so my goal is, it's not that it's less than 200 pages, but I really trust this guy's opinion. So it's one of those word of mouth sort of things. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try because, again, when you and I receive so many different books about management or leadership, and this was not written necessarily to be about leadership, but the component in here is about leadership. So I'll let you know how it goes after I get a little further in. What are you reading?
I'm still reading that book. We had a partner of ours here was Blinkist. The short, you read a short synopsis of a book, and that led me to a book called How to Think Like a Roman Emperor. And it's about the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius, this Stoicism thing. And it's written by a therapist who I don't know if you experience this with these business books or leadership books or stuff. Like I ferret out all the word filler or the page fillers. I almost feel like they're writing by the word, like Charles Dickens used to do. That's how he wrote all these long stories. They were paid by the word. Yeah, there it is. Donald Robertson's How to Think Like a Roman Emperor. And but when you get through all the wordy stuff, there are these amazingly cool little nuggets that come up that have just been good reading for the event, as we say.
It's great when you find that sort of stuff, I think.
And I'm reading 2 science fiction books simultaneously. I've been going back and forth. But like you, lately, I'll start reading, and the next thing you know, my head's bobbing. It's time for sleep. Hey, so what caught your eye besides all this?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
So I was digging around and came across this story. It's related to there's a bar in Baltimore, a leather bar called the Baltimore Eagle. And it says Baltimore Leather Bar is selling face masks and poppers in order to stay in business. So like a lot of restaurants and bars, because of the event, they're doing takeout or takeaway. So this leather bar in Baltimore, the Eagle, decided that they were going to do poppers to go. So you can go to their website and you can get poppers. They have a full range of price from $5 to $15. They've got some new flavors. It's curbside pickup, and they list the different flavors of poppers that they have. The one thing that I love, are you laughing?
Yes, because I'll hold the laugh.
I'll hold it.
Go ahead.
So what I did find funny about the whole thing is the way the Baltimoreans, they call it the corn, CORN, teen, TE, the quarantine. So besides the poppers, they're also doing cocktail kits with sparkling wine, flavored rum, and so forth. Also a number of different sorts of adult toys, and lubricants and kilts and books and hankies and so forth and so on. They've also got a line of masks that were inspired by our friends at the Village People. And the headline on the website says, "Combat the pandemic, the Eagle suggests by letting a cowboy, lumberjack, or camp counselor sit on your face." So you can order these things online as well and pick them up on the corner. So it's a way for them to stay in business during the event. I thought it was interesting because everybody's trying to come up with ideas of what to handle during this new event.
Oh my God. So I'm laughing because ingenuity, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And this is ingenious. This is your supply. This is what you sell, right?
Yeah.
I would really be curious to know how sales are actually doing. And if people are ordering on the web and doing curbside pickup. I do think the masks are hilarious, but I wasn't aware that, I guess it's good to be able to go and pick up poppers if you need them. They run out.
Do you use poppers?
Well, no, just shows you that I don't really know what's going on. I thought, does this last forever? Can't you just put it in a drawer? But no, I'm sure it's something that you probably use, and it does
So Stephen
evaporate.
Garrett, do you folks use the poppers?
No, I thought that was only for like butt sex.
Well, I'm not accusing. But
wait a minute.
So yes.
I remember in school.
So yes.
Guys, I remember in college. Isn't the base substance of poppers amyl nitrate? And
that's what I've heard.
I remember. So if I was in college one time, I remember there was a dorm. I was dorm president. Okay, we're doing a total sidebar, Tim. I'm sorry. I was dorm president. Yeah, for a semester, I was elected. I think I added 2 kegs to every dorm party or something crazy like that. But I'm walking down a hall and I step over some folks I know. They're like, "Hey, Mr. President." Hi. It was during a party. And "Hey, how you doing, Mr. President?" I'm like, "I'm doing fine." Constituents were all laughing. And one guy goes, "Have a hit." And he hands me up a brown, it looked like a medicine bottle, actually. And he said, "You got to do it this way." And I did it under my nose. And it was like, whoa. And then I realized years later that that's probably what poppers are, right? It's like amyl nitrate.
Yeah.
So I had it as the president of the dorm.
Well, I know in a lot of dance clubs, guys used to use it when they would be out dancing or whatever. Yeah. But I just never. It was. Anyway, you can get it in Baltimore if you're looking for it.
From the. By the way, caught my eye today. For anybody watching, it's so far apart. There's the bar in Baltimore. How'd they say the quarantine? CORN.
CORN. Quarantine.
Quarantine.
During the quarantine.
Quarantine, the event. What caught my eye was something completely different, and it just shows who we are. So Star Wars and Lego are delivering 3 new helmet collectibles. This is news to me. I didn't know they did these, but I'm attracted to the packaging. And hey, I picked Boba Fett because I like Boba Fett. So they've teamed up to deliver these 3 things. There's a Stormtrooper, Boba Fett, and TIE Fighter pilot. They're puzzles, basically. They're over 700 parts a piece on average, so they only are recommended for people 18 or over. So I qualify. I can have a helmet collectible.
Are you going to get one?
I'm thinking, okay, so it's the 40th anniversary of the May the 4th, and I think it's this, and May 4th is the May the 4th be with you, that whole thing they do. May 17th is the 40th anniversary, I think, of either Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back. Boba Fett was from Empire. That's when we first saw that character. I may get one. The last time I did this, it sat in a box for ages, and I finally built it. And I'm like, okay, that was fun. I don't know. It's one of those.
What do they cost?
60. 60 USD. And that's why I'm hesitating.
Does it come with that stand? And I guess you build it on that stand?
Yes, it does. Maybe I should build it and we should give it away to a lucky listener. Because you know me. Sure. You know me. I'm going to build it, and then I don't want it around because it's going to be clutter. And I'm going to feel guilty for spending the 60 to buy a Lego helmet that I built and that I enjoyed for about 20 minutes.
Well, then why don't you buy a used one and put it together?
Now that's an idea. I should go on eBay and see about used Lego sets.
That's a good idea. I saw something. A lot of people are doing puzzles in captivity. I don't know if you're doing puzzles, but there was one I saw today. It was a 10,000 piece puzzle, all white. It was just a white sheet. Imagine how tough that would be.
Someone brought that up on one of our Zoom calls, which I like and I don't like. But yeah, the all white puzzle. So you'd have to do the border.
And then you're stuck.
And then you're basically there. Yeah.
Have you seen the plexiglass?
No.
So you don't even know which side is right side up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Think about that. Someone had to think of a plexiglass puzzle.
Wow.
Ingenuity, I tell you. I think that we have Billy on the line from New York. Hey, Billy, welcome to the show.
I was going to behave, but you had to give me a Paul and Mass moment with the poppers.
Proceed, my friend. Proceed.
Jeez, I don't know. I have a friend who works in public education, and he can't go to a bookstore, obviously, to buy poppers. And my sole mission for him is, would you go get me some poppers? Now I can tell him, go to Tim's place.
No, you just have to go to the Baltimore Eagle. I've never been, but they're doing curbside pickup, and the hours are pretty good. Just go to the website.
The hours are pretty good.
Wow, wouldn't it be easier just to get it on poppers.com or something?
And, probably if you did it that way, it would have to be by the pallet or the crate. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to buy something like this, these little bottles, you might as well buy like a pallet, I guess. What's a pallet?
Yeah.
Like 6 or 12 bottles,
Okay. So, Mr. Nash, I have a bone to pick with you.
Uh-oh.
Yes. The loop. What the hell have you done to me and Edwin? This program is so bizarre.
Did you not like it?
I like it, but it's like these little robot things, and you kind of get caught up in each story, and like now they're starting to link them together. I'm like, okay, this is
we had to hit the pause button on that one. It was starting to bother me. We got partway through, and I'm like, I don't like the stories are clever. There's nothing horrible. There's no blood or gore.
Why did it bother you?
We lost Jacob. I mean, Jacob's stuck in a robot.
Well, you didn't really know it at first, and then you do, and then you realize, wow, that's so screwed up. His friend, they exchange places. He's in a robot. He loses his ultimately. Yeah, it sticks with you in a weird way. I'll say that, and that's why we hit the pause button.
We're going to divulge to Upload on Friday because that was shot at the Mohawk Mountain House here in Ulster County.
Thank you, Billy, for identifying that. So there's a new show coming out. It's called Upload, and they show this resort somewhere, and I guess it's the digital afterlife. And I keep staring at the building. I said, Bob, I know that. That's the resort. Okay.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I've flown around a lot. I've been there for conferences. It's just an extraordinary place.
Is that in the middle of a preserve, or do they own all the acreage around that?
They own all the acreage, plus they have a spot where you can go nude sunbathing in the summer. And you can ride your bicycle.
and they're getting free press right now.
Yeah.
Mama's got some bills to pay. This lodge can buy some time
mm-hmm.
on the show. All right, we're going to get going, Billy.
Yes. Keep the quarantine going, and we'll keep on going.
Thank you. Thanks for the call, guys.
Later, my boys. Later.
Thanks.
All right. Yes, Upload is going to be this new show. I think it's Netflix or Amazon, and it looks kind of comical because it's, I guess, in the future we're digitized. We wake up in a computer environment. That could be interesting, actually. All right. Hey, we've mentioned a sponsor of ours here on the show before, Fiverr.com.
Okay.
Oh, business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
I spend all this time doing the show run for you.
And guess what? You
insist I do the show run.
It's right in front of me, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
So is this piece of paper. So
we could have done
like
both.
A cat. Okay, go ahead.
So this one was this birthday was picked specifically for you, John. Karl Friedrich Christian Ludwig Führer Drais von Sauerbrunn. You know him as Karl Drais. He was a German forest official and an inventor. He actually was a prolific inventor. He invented the Lauf machine or running machine, and also something called the velocipede. And which was then nicknamed something to the equivalent of a hobby horse or a dandy horse. And this is back in like the 1817, 1816 time. And it was actually the precursor to the bicycle and two-wheeled transportation. So there's a picture of it if you're watching on that's the original bike. We're calling it a bike. But the Lauf machine. But it didn't have pedals, so you sat on it with the two wheels and you scooted with your feet, kind of like Fred Flintstone.
So that's not the velocipede. He called that what? The bike?
This was called the Lauf machine.
The Lauf machine. That became the bicycle.
That became the bicycle, but he then, as he did this, he added a pedal to what became the velocipede, which is the other, I think there's another slide of that. I think I put in, if I didn't put in.
No.
It's those huge tricycles or the huge bikes with the big, huge wheel with a little wheel in the back.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's used to see. I thought I included it. Maybe I didn't. But so that's what they call the velocipede. And he rode one the first time. It went 4.3 miles in June 1817. And they couldn't really ride them on the dirt roads there because of too many ruts from carriages, horse and carriages. So they would only ride them on the asphalt, but they actually did go quite fast. And so they were banned in Germany, Great Britain, the United States, and Calcutta. So which I thought just was an odd thing. And aside from inventing what was the precursor of the bicycle, he also invented a typewriter with a keyboard, a stenograph machine, the first meat grinder, a device to record piano music on paper, a wood-saving cooker, also an early hay chest. He also developed four-wheeled human-driven powered machines, one of them called the Drais, which is still used today for railroad cars with the pump. You always see it in cartoons when they still use them today. And he was unable to market his inventions for profit because of the way Germany was set up. He was a civil servant, and everything had to go to the state. So he had left and gone to Brazil for a while. And his father was a judge, but the whole family fell out of favor. When he came back, they took his pension, took everything. He died penniless. None of his inventions, he got money for nothing. The state took everything from him. And he died 1851. He lived only 2 blocks away from Karl Benz of Mercedes-Benz, Daimler-Benz fame. And but out finally in 1985, West Germany, when it was still 2 Germanys, issued a commemorative stamp that honored him and showed a picture of the Loft machine with a silhouette of a bicycle next to it and gave him credit for it. But it was a shame he died with nothing. But he was quite the inventor of a number of things. But the state, what was then the state of Baden in Germany, took everything from him.
There's a couple other birthdays where they were inventors and they died penniless as well. It recurs, right? We've heard some of that. But what a whole bunch of inventions. I mean, my God, as you were going through the list, I know you always accuse, like you and I have this joke about why didn't I invent the internet, or why didn't I come up with Facebook?
Well, you could have come up with Facebook
or any of that.
Yeah.
But as you were going through the list, and I'm thinking of the time period, and think of his neighbor, Benz, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if there are certain points in history where the way people, there are so many problems that needed clever solutions that were right in front of you, as opposed to, different time periods where things might not be so obvious.
Well, the historian David McCullough, who just wrote the latest book, The Pioneers, he talks about that he uses the state of Ohio as an example. And so the people, the first territory that settled outside of the U.S. or outside of the original 13 colonies was the Northwest Territories. And they had the big thing they did in the Northwest Territories. It doubled the size of the U.S., but there was no slavery. There was free education and freedom of religion. And what he says is within this very small area of Ohio, you had the not only the Wright brothers, but also astronauts.
Like John Glenn, those guys.
John Glenn. They're all Ohio, all within probably 100 miles of one another. And he talks about how all this ingenuity came out of Ohio. And he was wondering if it was about the pioneers or the people who had left and had the fortitude to go out there. And as you said, try to solve problems or try to serve a need. But he does talk a lot about engineering and a bunch of people that seem to have clustered in a certain area. Maybe it's the same thing with the Germans, with the German culture.
It's kind of fascinating. And to actually have the historical perspective to say this location, this geography has given us X, Y, and Z. What's going on there, right?
Right.
And to find that connection, which is the same with some of the European inventors or stuff like that. Very cool.
Yeah, people talk about that now with patents. For instance, South Korea, in some of the Asian countries, there's huge amounts of patents that come out of there, and so it would be something. It would be a good thesis, John, if you're going to get a PhD somewhere.
No, I'm not, because I'm trying to invent something.
But you can't
do this.
You can't invent the mask. The mask is done. That's over.
I need a backup plan. I need to have. Yeah. Okay, I'm doing now. Are we allowed to? Yes, I'm not going to run over. Good segment. Good business birthday. I love historical birthdays, by the way. Now we're going to talk about Fiverr, a partner of ours here on the Focus Group, Fiverr.com. Fiverr is an amazing solution for short-term projects, graphic design needs, copywriting, editing, I'm going to bring up one that we're starting to use myself. We have to do email signatures for a client of ours, and that's kind of HTML coding, whatever. But I'm sending a Fiverr for person, one of the people we're working with, an example of what I want, and I'm getting the code back.
Oh,
and
really?
It's costing like $10 or $15.
Wow,
so
it's great.
You could spend more if you want, but we had our logo done there. Tim art directed our logo, and I think you're going to be doing something with our soon to be website, right?
Yes, we need to update our website, which you and I both agreed that now's the time to do it, and so we need to do that. So, yes, no, Fiverr is a great option. I think I told you I turned somebody on. They were looking for a jingle for a local company, and the woman I know had this expectation that it was going to cost her thousands and thousands of dollars to get some sort of musical jingle. And I turned her on to Fiverr and I said, hey, head over there. And again, as you said, there's either an expensive price, a moderate price, or if you wanted to spend thousands, you could. But most small businesses or people that need to do a quick project or a freelance project certainly don't have those huge budgets. But there's all kinds of talent
there.
Who
did she work with? What part of the world were they in?
She ended up using, I believe she was going between somebody in Australia and someone in, I want to say, Norway.
Interesting. And she got a jingle.
Yeah, she did get one done. I haven't heard though. It's still in process, but she was using it for a fitness client in the Midwest, and so it was exciting. And she was just delighted as could be, because it's one of these things where she had sent a message out on social media. What do I do? She has a small agency, and she said, I'm trying to find somebody who could do a jingle for me. Can somebody help me? And I was like, here. And I said, use our code, which is FOCUS, FOUCS. And I said, you get 10% off your first order. So check out Fiverr, Fiverr.com. So if you go to Fiverr.com, you'll receive 10% off your first order by using our code FOCUS, which is FOCUS. So it's easy. You'll find all the digital services and everything you need. As John said, it's all right there in one place, Fiverr.com, code FOCUS. Again, Fiverr.com, code FOCUS. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got a shop talk. So stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with The Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. Find us every Wednesday, 1 p.m. live, usually on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, focusgroupradio.com is the website where you'll find all about us, all our media, etc. And running at the bottom of this, we have a bunch of social handles, Focus Group Radio, and you can always contact us at letters@focusgroupradio.com, and many ways to find us. All right, so we're back.
Hey, John, before you go to Shop Talk, we talked earlier about books, and so I just have a quick question for you. Are you reading the book as a paper book, or are you reading it electronically?
I'm doing iPad, Kindle.
Because I'm thinking, I think that might be the issue for me as to why the difficulty is. I picked up the book during our quick break and was reading again, and I think I may need to go digital, have a little more light. I think, as much as I love a paper book, I could see where I think I need the type to be a little bit bigger.
This is a conversation that fascinates, or this is a topic that fascinates me. Sorry, because I do have a pair of reading glasses. I discovered the other day why I don't like them. I never knew this. I went to check the prescription at Warby Parker, and I was like, I wonder and it was a progressive. I've never heard of progressive lenses for reading glasses that are actually not that strong. Because I put them on and I don't like them anyway. I found that Kindle reading, I could change the point size. And so I've grown quite lazy. So when I actually pick up a paper book, even with my reading glasses, there's a distance I have to be at. I sort of miss it, but I actually have to confess, I really do like ebooks. They're very easy.
Yeah. I haven't read a paper book. The last one I read was the one that Bob's mom had given me, Boys in the Boat. That was the last book that I'd physically read.
Yeah,
everything else has been electronically, and then this one I tried to do it, and I think I'm going to have to switch to electronic.
All my art books, like I'm reading a book right now on just figure drawing, actually, and how to look at the body as geometric shapes and how to put the proportions and all that. That's like an instruction book, so it's like a big, large. That's paper, and I break the binding. I lay that flat so I can do things on it. All right, so at the beginning of the show, I teased this article that Tim found, actually came out of Chicago, and given the event that we're in and the increasing discussion of how to go back to work and when to go back to work and what all that means and what it might even look like, the headline of this article he found says, "Will the open plan office make you vulnerable to the virus, or will the virus crisis force offices to become safer?" And it's this interesting look at the fact that many, many companies have been using an open plan office floor plan for a long time now, rows of desks, and in fact, workstations that are maybe not yours. Maybe it's the one you sit at for the day. I'm thinking of things like WeWork and shared spaces. So with being required to be a certain distance from people, at least for the foreseeable future, how do these open plan offices work, right? So it's kind of fascinating because I think it also opens the lid on how work's going to be in general with telecommuting versus being physically present. Maybe you go in for a meeting. I don't know. It's a good article.
Yeah, I was surprised by the stats. They said it's estimated that 70% of American offices use some form of an open plan. So it departs from the traditional arrangement when people had private offices in the perimeter and the workstations inside. And it said that this has really occurred in the last 15 to 20 years, but they've also shrunk the size of workstations. So a typical workstation back in the 90s might have been 36 square feet, might have been 48 square feet, and now they're 36. So there's about a 25% reduction. But they are finding that with everybody finding new ways to work, that the genie's kind of out of the bottle, right? If you could say that you could work at home and be just as productive or more productive, that everything's going to change, don't you think?
Well, we could link this directly back to either Unbuttoned this week or the show last week, where we talked about how the work at home is turning out to be 10 and 12-hour days because you can't walk away from it. You're at your work. Your house is your work. So you couple that with employers now realizing that telework is effective, it's efficient, and maybe we have to rethink that. You and I have never been, I'll just say this about the open plan office space. We graduated into a workforce that had offices. You remember all our first jobs. We had offices. We had rooms we worked in. Maybe it was 2 people to an office, but usually it was a room, and then there was the meeting rooms. So when open plan came along, it was like, oof, man. If I didn't have an office, think of the conversations you have to have sometimes with a client or with a vendor. They're not always. They need to be private. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah. Well, a Harvard study in 2016 came out and said it was the dumbest idea, dumbest fad. The open plan, because it did just the exact opposite. And you and I had a client, I'll say who it is, Volkswagen, down in Herndon, Virginia, that moved to the open plan when they built their new building. And inevitably, anytime you and I were there, I would say at least a quarter of the company was outside or wandering around. No one was ever where they were supposed to be at their little workstation, because if they had to have a phone call that they didn't want the whole area to hear, you had to leave the area. So we would see people milling around outside. One time we went there, I thought there was a fire drill. It was so nice, and there were so many people outside on their phones. And
you actually asked. You asked somebody. I think you asked one of our counterparts down there. You're like, "Hey, is there something going on today? Like, are you testing a system out?" Like, no. And then he actually told you directly, "This is the only way we can have a private conversation." Or there are these weird little single cube chair things you could sit in, like the privacy chair or something. But no one could have a private conversation, and a lot of conversations need to be private on certain levels, don't you think?
Right. And there's only so many of these. And they always say, well, you can get a pod or you can get a private room, but everybody immediately reserves those rooms and then you can't get in them. And I was talking to friends at another company I know just changed to this format, and they hate it. And the one person in particular is in the legal department. And she said, I cannot. She said, most of the conversations I have that revolve around either human resource issues, the legalities, benefits, those sort of things, are not anyone else's business in the building. Exactly. And not even my peers. She said, so I'm constantly, she said, I go out to my car sometimes to have conversations because I have to talk about a delicate issue with somebody on the leadership team, maybe from an HR issue, and it's obviously confidential. So I don't know. I just thought this was a really, I thought the whole open plan thing was a poor idea. I know the Japanese, when I worked with the Japanese, my cohorts at Subaru, they had open plans forever. And just for a pure space issue in Tokyo, and they all hated it. I mean, they even shared phones. There was one phone for 4 people. It was on a Lazy Susan, and it would spin, and you know, if you needed to use the phone, and you would just sit there and just in the little area stacked with papers.
I got a complete non sequitur for you when you bring up Japan. The chiclet in the corner.
Oh, the Mentos.
The Mentos in the corner. We're going to save that for later. But shared phone, shared space. Yeah. I've been working for myself and with you me since 25, maybe 26. So I've always had an office or some kind of private space. I can't imagine.
Well, you and I, for instance, if you and I had a physical, we have a virtual agency, I guess is how you would call it, or that's what it is. But if you and I were in a physical space, you and I had a phone call 2 weeks ago, for instance, which we could have never had in an open format, right? So
that was a scorched earth call.
But that's our point. And those calls don't happen all the time. But that's the sort of thing where you don't want the rest of the staff or the rest of the managers or the rest of the people you work with to hear that sort of conversation.
Correct. Yeah.
And
correct.
So when you and there are an awful lot more of those that happen or other things that happen. I just think it's distracting. And I think any company that's decided that these open floor plans are a good idea has made a mistake.
Well, and they're going to apparently have to rejigger the idea as we move to a different kind of working. Hey, another non sequitur, but I've been looking at some of the auto stats. What do you think car dealers are going to have to do to start moving metal off the lot again when this all is over? Because aren't we there's an enormous backlog, right?
Well, if you want to buy a car, they're giving 6-7 years no finance. So too bad we got our cars last year. But if we were going to buy this year, essentially going to get a car for free. You have to make your monthly payment, but you're not going to have any. There's going to be 0% down, 0% interest. A lot of the factories are supposed to start early May, start back up. But there's some issues as to whether there's going to be enough parts from the third-party suppliers and whether the supply chain is going to be able to meet demand. But it's a big unknown. And they are now a lot of states are now allowing people to buy online. Some states, I didn't realize this, you can purchase online. But if you knew exactly the kind of car or truck that you wanted, you can order it online and purchase that way.
You have a conversation with a salesman on the phone, right? That's how I got my wagon recently, was all over the phone. That I drove up and picked it up because I knew exactly what I was getting.
Well, you're a good example. You knew exactly what you wanted. You knew the trim level. You knew the color, or you had to pick your color option. But for you, if you said, I want A, B, C, D, yes, here it is, you could have done that very simply online. And but it's an expectation, obviously, that like every industry, it's going to take a huge, huge hit. And whether people feel like they want to spend money again. The other big issue is I was talking to a friend of mine in the retail sector. And her thought is, she said, when people start shopping again, and if either people are used to doing it online, or if you go into a brick and mortar, everything that's in there is going to be out of season and old merchandise. And what do you do? Because you didn't make new stuff to replenish, probably.
I never even thought of it.
So you either blow it out, right? A lot of it's probably winter stuff, particularly in the Northeast, in the North. So it's winter stuff. Maybe the factories weren't building things or are making product for the summer. And sometimes you're a step ahead, but is there going to be even stuff to replenish some of these stores? Are they just going to blow out old inventory?
I never thought of it. Tim. That's amazing. Let's say that on March 14th was a robust closing of retail and the beginning of the shutdown. Well, that was late winter season, so you're already putting stuff on sale. But if you were receiving stuff, you might not be putting it out. It's they have to. In other words, the system has to have a work through. It's going to have to be months to work through some of this stuff.
Well, right, and then you also know it when it becomes, because retail always pushes the season, right? So probably July is when the back to school stuff would start coming in, fall. And so there's going to be a whole recalibration of even just retail. So I don't know if you're looking to buy anything online right now, if you needed T-shirts or any sort of clothing, any of your favorite retailers. I was talking to friends over the weekend that there are some magnificent, that's maybe a little overhyped word, but there's incredible sales going on right now. Places like J. Crew or Brooks Brothers or...
Hey, I've been taking advantage. I just got 4 short sleeve shirts from Charles Turret, and I just got 2 new belts from Cole Haan that were like, you couldn't say no because it was so cheap.
Yeah, I got a $129 sweater from J. Crew for $13.
There you go.
I could use it as a dust rag. I mean, I thought for $13, maybe it wasn't the best color I wanted. But
that's an expensive dust rag, but cheap by some standards, expensive by others. All right.
So the open floor plan we beat that up enough, I think, don't you, or what?
Were we talking about that? Yeah, that was we're off that plan now.
So hey, thanks for joining us. We hope everybody's doing well, and we're enjoying our new format here with us being able to share it with you each Wednesday live at 1 p.m. East. Be sure to go to focusgroupradio.com. You can find all of our links there, all of our programming, as well as our podcast, which comes out every Tuesday, which is TFG Unbuttoned, and of course our show here. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mr. Nash. Thanks to our friends at Fiverr, Fiverr.com. Head over there if you're looking for any sort of freelance talent, and you'll save 10% off your first order with the code FOCUS, FOCUS. We hope everybody has a safe week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.